Just talk about your time.
I want to talk. I can go high to low.
So, UFC 316, Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili is here, and we're here to break it down. I want to introduce you to my co-host back again, Mr. CJ Sharp. We're super excited to break this one down. CJ, just kind of give me an overview. What do you see from this card?
See a lot of exciting things happening here, man. There's a lot of guys. There's some new faces, some faces coming from abroad, that are coming to storm the capital, so to speak. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one shapes up.
Yeah, I love it. There's so many good storylines that we're going to touch on. So we're going to give you guys a quick breakdown of each fighter. So we're going to kind of go into step by step, and then you have to stick along with us for sharp picks at the end. We're going to pick the fighters, pick our winners, and you guys can play along with us. Let us know what you guys think down below once we get done with it. But, Siege, let's jump right into it. You have a little title contender eliminator, per se. You have a guy from Fort Worth, Texas, from our home, Kevin Holland, taking on
Hometown boy.
the veteran, Vicente Luque. Kind of walk us through what you see in that first fight in the main card.
I see a lot on the line here. We have our hometown boy, Kevin Holland. You always got to get behind him. But, he's had some tough fights against, not tomato cans or anything. There've been some good guys, but some fights that, we really needed to see him pull through to stay at the top of the heat. He was climbing. He had a number behind his name at one point, and, he's dropped a few places on the card. He's lucky to be on the main card still, but like we were talking about earlier, he was supposed to wind up on the prelims, and just by pure fluke, he ended up back on the main card, and this might be just what he needs to stay on there, with the win over a guy like Vicente Luque.
Yeah, to keep your name relevant, you're going to have to get this win. And so you look at Kevin Holland, you look at Vicente Luque. Again, Kevin Holland, see, just kind of something we talked about, just at the house, or in phone calls or anything that Kevin Holland has called himself the world's greatest gatekeeper. So he's completely underselling himself a little bit. But it's kind of a weird mentality. So, did you get a chance to hear that in interviews and stuff like that? Well, what is kind of your mentality when you hear something like that?
Yeah, and I don't like it. Kevin Holland's my guy, but it feels like a cop-out, It kind of feels like it's you're just playing it safe, just in case you don't pull it out. Well, I told you I wasn't going to be champion, We don't want to hear that. As fans, we're behind you because we want to see you pull it out. We want to see you climb the ranks. We want to see you get to that belt, and so to take an aloof approach, where he's just kind of, I'm cool if I win, I'm cool if I don't win. I don't want to hear that from him, I want to hear the hunger. I want to see him bring it, and not to say that he doesn't when he gets in there, but he just seems too content with being where he's at and just being notable, and being a hometown hero, I guess, and I want more than that from him.
Absolutely. He steps into the octagon against a guy who's kind of been there, done that, but needs a win just as badly as he does. Again, you look at Vicente Luque, he's lost 3 of his last 5 bouts, right? But it's not to just anybody. He's lost to Joaquin Buckley, who we just saw what he could do against Colby Covington. That he's going to be the #1 contender here very soon. And then he lost to the champ, Bilal Muhammad, and then against Jeff Neal, which, again, he's been at the top of the ranks for a little bit now. So he's not losing to nobodies, but again, when you look at the top of the rankings, you want to get those wins, and he hasn't been able to do that. He has a chance to do that against Kevin Holland. So it's going to be an interesting bout. Again, we'll kind of do quick breakdowns of the fights, and then we'll kind of go deeper once we choose our picks and kind of say why we do it, so make sure y'all stay tuned. But the next fight on the list, you have to look at a new face here for the first one. You have Patrick Patchy Mix taking on Mario Bautista in a bantamweight bout. How do you see that one going, Siege?
Patrick Patchy No Love Mix. We got to work on that. We got to nail something down. I don't know how I feel about that, but you put all that aside, the dude's a beast, right? He's proven himself. He's tried and true and tested. And, there's this whole influx of big names coming over from other organizations, which is super exciting for us because we've always heard about these guys from abroad and, kind of seen them in the background. And all we hear about is how amazing they are and how they could really compete with the best of the best. And, here we are. So, yeah, definitely excited to see this one. I want to say he was kind of in the same boat with guys like Patricio, right? calling for his release ever since that merger happened, and those guys weren't getting the looks that they were supposed to be getting, or even getting any kind of any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Fights. They just weren't getting their fights over
Yeah.
there, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
some of them have been sitting for over a year, and they're like, "Hey, man, you said when you took on our contracts and you bought out Bellator, we're going to be active, and where's our fights?" And so, I don't mind that. I want to see him over here and compete against our guys. This is a great name to bring over. Our bantamweight division is stacked. So if there's any division that he needs to jump into, it's this one, and this is where he can really prove it.
Yeah, he's an exciting fighter, but then you look at it on the other side. You look at Mario Bautista. He's a guy who has fought 4 times in the past since 2023, I
Hmm.
believe, and a guy who stayed active, been at the top, and his bout was supposed to be against Marlon Chito Vera, right? So you touched on it. That's why Kevin Holland was supposed to be in the prelims, but after that, after a couple of shake arounds after Vera,
Yeah,
that he got put up somehow. Some guy got bumped down, but it's definitely interesting when you look at Mario Bautista, a guy who is continuing to prove himself on the rise, has gotten some big wins against Jose Aldo and Ricky Simone. So again, a
yeah,
guy
man,
who's on the brink, but again, now
some
you
big
face.
names
So you're supposed to face Cheeto Vera, but now it's a different. Now it's a whole new camp for a new guy, different stylistically. Because again, you look at no Patchy No Love is I don't know which nickname to choose, but
pick one. Yeah,
he's a submission artist. You look at him; he's 20-1, but 13 of those wins were by submission. And Mario
hmm,
Bautista is no slump towards submission either. He has 6 submissions under his belt, so it's a completely different stylistic matchup when you look at Cheeto Vera.
for sure.
That guy's dangerous hands, can do it on the ground as well, but again, just a different stylistic matchup. But Mario Bautista is a guy with 11 fights, 7-fight win streaks. Again, we talked about that, just days ago. And so it's going to be a really, really exciting bout. So again, we'll pick our winners here, but going to kind of try to move along here. We love to do
For sure.
extensive breakdowns, but
Right.
we're gonna try to limit it on the front end and probably go deeper once we get our picks in. But then now you go from bantamweights to now 2 guys with heavy, heavy hands in Joe and what a nickname. We're talking about nicknames. Joe Body Bags Pfeiffer taking on Kelvin Gastelum. I mean, these guys have the hands to prove it. I mean, this one's going to be an electric fireworks fight.
Oh yeah, man. And Kelvin Gastelum is a dog. He's proven that time and time again. He's a staple in the UFC at this point, right? He's fought the who's who. He's fought for belts. He's, come up short, but he's always at the top of the heap. And even with a couple losses, under his belt, you can't ever count out Kelvin Gastelum because he brings it each and every time. And this is a big fight for both guys. Kelvin obviously has something to prove. Joe's on his way up through the ranks, and beating a guy like Kelvin will definitely have him in the conversation. He's not a household name yet, but yeah, you beat a guy like Kelvin, yeah, people are going to be talking about you.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, he's newer to the UFC. Only has 5 fights with the UFC, but he's 13-3 overall. 9 of those being knockouts. And again, you
Yeah.
look at what he just did against one of our boys, Mark Andre Barrio, and I mean, again, you just saw what Barrio just did in his last fight. I mean, that guy's a killer in his own, but Pfeiffer flatlined him. I mean,
Yeah.
completely. I mean, it was a nasty knockout. I mean, he's kind of a psychopath. I mean, he's yelling, he's screaming, he's always doing this stuff. But the dude's intense. The dude's intense.
Yeah.
We love to see it. Kind of like a Paul Craig, except he actually goes and knocks people out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. More than
kind of
just face paint. Yeah.
exactly more than just face paint and grappling and what Paul Craig did to Jamal Hill was gross in itself. But other than that, he hasn't really done
Yeah.
it. Anyways.
Yeah.
Joe Piper seems to be an actual psychopath. I mean, yelling, screaming, but also knocking people out cold and going crazy afterwards. And then you look at, but also a different setup kind of guy because you look at his fighting. It's Abdul Razak Al Hassan. He went straight for the takedown within the first 5 seconds of the bout.
Yeah.
So he's got both. But then you look at the other side, and Kelvin Gastelum, you can't just shoot for Gastelum's legs. The guy, he's
No.
already sure. He's got a great takedown defense. He's a stalker guy. I mean, super, super strong. And
Yeah.
you look, and when you think of Gastelum, what do you think about? That
And
Adesanya fight, that electric
exactly.
Adesanya fight. So he's no pushover. So I mean, it's gonna be insane.
Yeah, man. And he always looks outsized, right? Which obviously that doesn't mean everything. And you could tell by his record, right? I mean, he stands up there, but it's like, he always looks like he's being towered over by these other guys, man. He looks like he's really a true welterweight guy. he'd never get his diet together,
Right.
and he kept missing weight. And they're like, dude, if you want to stay in this, you want to stay in this organization, you've got to bump up. And so that's where he's at. He's 5'9", like you said, he's more of a stocky guy. He's not like he's this ripped guy like most of the middleweights are.
Right.
But it kind of makes you even want to go, get behind him that much more, the story, of the underdog, David and Goliath, here's our little David here running up against this giant 6'2" man, so he pulls it out, man. You can't ever count out Kelvin Gastelum. That guy's a beast. He brings it every time.
I mean, you never can. I mean, just look at the resume he's built. Daniel Rodriguez, Sean Brady, Chris Curtis, Jared Cannonier, Robert Whitaker, Jack Hermanson, Darren Till,
Yeah.
Israel Adesanya.
The who's who, man. The who's who.
Exact. I mean, he's fought everyone's favorite fighter, right?
Yeah.
We got to watch him fight Darren Till at Masvidal versus Diaz, so we got to watch him live.
Yep.
And Darren Till's a whole other story. I mean, the what ifs behind Darren Till, because
Yeah.
Gaston
It's
just came off
insane.
that crazy win against Adesanya, comes to Darren Till, and Darren Till coming off a loss gets a big win there. But again,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that some other time. But again, Gaslam's no pushover. That fight's gonna be crazy. I'm so interested to hear who you have for that fight. But let's attempt to move on here. Now you move into the co-main, which again, it's another fighter who just made their way over to the UFC. You have Kayla Harrison taking on a familiar name in Julianna Pena.
Yeah. I sound like a broken record over here, but I don't know why I can't get behind Juliana. And I don't know if it's, her when she's on the mic, that's a turnoff, or even when she's in the cage, I know she's winning and I can't deny it. She's a champ. You got to give her credit where credit's due. But I don't know what it is about her. I don't like her. I don't like her. I don't like the way she fights. I don't like the way she talks. It just comes across kind of corny. And, I know that she beat Amanda, and I'm a big Amanda Nunes fan, but I feel like I'll say this till I go to the grave. I don't think Amanda wanted to be in there the first time. I don't think it was because she was scared of Juliana. I think she just didn't want it, and she just was looking for a way out. She was just bored. And now we have this new matchup here, and like we've talked about before, she's potentially talking about coming back, right? And why not? Kayla Harrison is a very exciting name right now. This is her third fight in UFC or second? I forget.
For Kayla Harrison, second, she's 2-0.
But yeah, her only her second fight, but we can't stop talking about her. I mean, even when she's not on the card, we're talking about her. So I get it. She's here to shake things up, and I hope, well, we can't pick yet, but I hope, and dot, dot, dot. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so when you look at, again, well, first let me touch on the Amanda Nunes. I mean, the fact that in that press conference that she's like shaking her head like yes, I'm coming back. She wasn't like, again, if you guys at home haven't got a chance to watch that press conference, it was a press conference for UFC 316. I think it was about a month or two ago maybe. And they were talking about, Nunes was there in the front row, and they were like, Nunes, like some fan or reporter said, "Hey, Nunes, you coming back?" And they panned her, and she's like this. I mean, not like, oh, like all cute, like, oh, smile, like, I don't know. Like, no, she's like, yes. So,
Yeah.
Nunes fights again? She just said yes.
And question for Kayla. There we go.
take with that information what you will, but again, with a hypothetical situation, that fight would be absolutely insane. Siege, I have to ask you, though, how that matchup would possibly look. So we could talk about Julianna Pena versus Nunes, but we've seen that twice now. We'll talk about that here in a little bit as well. But what would a potential fight with Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes look like?
I think it'd be amazing. And I think it would be a barn burner. You know, I think it would be what we thought Nunes and Cyborg should have been. We thought that was going to be a hell of a matchup, and she went out there and just starched her, right? Which is cool. I mean, that was exciting. But I think a fight with someone like Kayla would definitely be a lot of back and forth. We know Amanda has hands, and she's not scared to throw them, you know, but she's not scared to go down to the ground either. And I think that's where Kayla kind of shines. But we've seen her in compromising positions before, and she gets through them, you know, but it's not situations that I think I would ever see Amanda in. But who knows? You know, Kayla has a very impressive top game. You know, it would be a very interesting fight.
Yeah, if you look at that hypothetical bout, I think Nunes has the upper hand on the feet. But where it gets really tricky for me is on the ground. Again, we've talked about it multiple times. Olympic gold medalist, right? There's
Hmm.
Olympic, competitors and stuff like that. But she's a
Right.
gold medalist in Kayla Harrison.
Sure. Sure.
And you look at her previous fights against Vieira, Holm, and back at her previous organization, and her only loss in her career, I guess, was against Larissa Pacheco. And that fight was on the ground. Holm was on the ground, and Vieira was on the ground. It was a lot of ground and pound, showing off her judo skills. But what
Sure.
does it look like if you can't just throw Amanda Nunes on the ground? You're
Right.
not just gonna hip toss her and she's gonna go, right? So what does it look like when that doesn't work for her if she has to strike? Well, I mean, there's so many different questions there. So
Yeah. A lot of variables for sure. And I think that's a main event all day.
I have
I
to.
think that's top of the bill all day. Yeah.
And you don't see too many women's main events anymore. You have Shevchenko, who's
Right.
still got that star power. You
Yeah.
had Nunes. You had Cyborg back then,
Yeah.
Ronda. But now in this new age, it kind of seems like the star power, at least the dominance, is kind of fading away. Other than Shevchenko right now.
And that kind of goes back to my original point though, right? I mean, not to give Pena too hard of a time, but can you imagine Pena at the top of the card? You know, opposite of anybody else outside of Amanda Nunes, you know? I just don't know if she moves the needle in that way, you know? And, nothing against her. She's just a regular chick. There's just something about her when she gets on the mic that just doesn't do it for me. And I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I've been wrong before, and there's been other people that I've told you that, oh, I can't stand so and so. And after a few fights, I'm like, all right, forget it. Put my foot in my mouth. I'm on the train now.
Right, right. But so we've kind of talked down about Pena, but you have to talk about a little bit about how dangerous she actually is. And so you look at that first fight. Again, I thought it was Nunes overextending herself, rushing, kind of being unlike herself in Nunes.
Yeah.
But Pena timed her shots up nicely. Again, kind of played back, stepped in. I mean, she had her timing down. But something I want to focus on is even in that second fight against Nunes, where she got whooped, right? I mean, she got dominated a little bit, but she was so dangerous from her back still. Again, Nunes was dropping elbow after elbow, but you're never really safe with Pena. Even when she was battered up, bleeding all over the place, she was still throwing up arm triangles, arm bars. So again, on her back, where
yeah.
she might find herself with Kayla Harrison, she can throw something up at any moment. Even in that fifth round against Nunes, she was throwing up stuff, almost got a submission. I think it was in the fourth round. You look back at that fourth round where Nunes was kind of battering her down for 4 rounds straight. Pena was like pretty close to getting that submission in that later in that mid fourth round. So so again, I can't stand her either. I'm right with you. I don't know if I said that, but I think
She doesn't have any quit in her. I'll give her that.
Yeah.
I've never seen her go out where she's just looking for a way out,
Right.
She always seems like she's trying to stay in it, even when it seems like the cards are stacked against her. She's going for it. So I'll give her that. I don't know. Who cares what I think? She's a champ, right? But I don't know.
For what it's worth, Siege, I care about what you say. Okay.
Okay,
care
I
about
appreciate
you.
that. At least somebody does. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there's somebody in the room. But moving on into now the main event, the rematch. There's a lot of interesting moving parts happening here. There's the storylines for this main event. It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it is the Suga Show, Sean O'Malley, getting his rematch again against Merab Dvalishvili. So Siege, again, another one. We've seen the first one already. Just the second one. No picks yet, but how does the second one possibly match up for both guys?
I cannot see this going any differently. I see more the same. I mean, how much can Sean have really evolved since the last fight? And even if we take all that out of it, I like Sean O'Malley. I've always been a Sean O'Malley fan, right? I mean, I think we all have. He's a pretty easy guy to get behind. I don't know. I mean, not that it really matters, but I don't know if I like the way he handled that loss. It just felt weird. Like I saw you got beat up for 5 rounds and then you were just acting like an idiot after, making all these goofy videos and downplaying the fact that you got your ass whooped for 25 minutes. And it was one of those things you're like, oh, it didn't really sit right with me. I didn't like it, because as fans, the story is as important as anything else, right? The stories behind it are as important as the fights and everything leading up to it. I was like, I didn't like that. I respect more of a guy that goes, you know what, he got me. I'll come back stronger next time. I see what I need to work on, whatever the case is. But he made it seem like, yeah, like Merab didn't whoop his ass for 25 minutes. And I thought that was really bizarre way to handle it. I get it. He's a goofy guy. He likes to have fun, and that's why we all love him. But I think just a little bit of grace, man. You got whooped. You know, be straight up about it. Just talk about how you're going to come back stronger or whatever the case may be, you know? So that part I didn't really like. But, I mean, Merab's the real deal, man. I mean, he beat Sean, didn't waste any time, jumped right back in there, defended his belt. I mean, what else do you want in a champion, you know?
And not only that, I love that. Well, I love from both these guys. They want to fight the next best guy. You know, you see a couple of champs, they're like, oh, like, you know, I want to take some time off, I'm not ready, or oh, let me fight this guy. No, Merab gets a big win against O'Malley when again it was kind of even at that point, and you go fight Umar Nurmagomedov, which is a guy that they're like,
Dude,
this guy's your biggest tough.
insane. Nobody wants to fight that guy.
Yeah.
Nobody, especially after you win a belt. You see it happen with most champions. All of a sudden they find all these injuries. You know what? I've needed to take care of this forever. I'm going to take a couple of years off, you know? You see it time and time again. And Rob's like, no, I'm good. I got a gash in my eye. I got a broken toe. I got whatever's going on. The dude's insane. And you see what he did to Umar. He's my guy. Morale's my guy.
And so two things there. Which one? I remember Merab just kind of dominating Umar, but I went back and rewatched the fight a couple of times, and it was a lot closer than I remember it being. But what I think stuck around me is how comfortable Merab is in the octagon. I mean, the showmanship. I mean, you look at that fight. I mean, Umar was kind of backpacking him and trying to bring him down, and Merab was just like no hands, like stepping back, like you can't bring me down even with no hands. Like I'm not really trying. The showmanship. I mean,
yeah.
He's comfortable. He's always doing this. You know, he did that against O'Malley and Umar. Yeah. It's fun. He's
dude.
Fun to watch.
He's having the best time.
Yeah, it never looks like he's in trouble. Even when
Yeah.
Umar was on his back, kind of fighting for a rear naked choke, and Merab's over there talking to the people. He's always talking to he was talking to Zuckerberg.
On the Cejudo fight.
Yeah.
When he carries Cejudo across the cage. The dude's insane.
Yeah, I mean, he's electric. And again, he's fought, if you look at his past couple fights, Umar Nurmagomedov, O'Malley, Cejudo, Peter Yan, and Jose Aldo.
Man.
But see, I want to hear your opinion. I don't know if you've heard this, but I'm citing from multiple sources, and I don't know if it's going to make you feel some type of way about your opinion. But he's openly admitted struggling, finding motivation going into this fight.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I mean, I haven't seen anything in the octagon that tells me that he's struggling with that. You know, and maybe the O'Malley fight, maybe the O'Malley fight doesn't excite him, but having a guy like Patchy Mix in the mix, no, but I feel like having somebody like that in the conversation, that doesn't get you excited. I mean, that's what champions are known for, right? They want to prove their steel, right? Against whoever else is coming out, especially guys from other organizations. So I hope that isn't the case. I hope this isn't one of those where he goes in there lazy and, but I don't know, man. The dude is certifiable. I mean, you went through all the names already, right? I mean, any one of those three names or 4 or 5 guys that he's fought before would have been enough to get him the nod, but you stack all of those guys up and then he's now lapping them, right? Because we've seen greats like Adesanya do this in the past, right? And hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we have some other names that'll come through the ranks where he's not having to do that and he's not struggling with this motivation. But yeah, man, when you start lapping guys and you're going back and rebeating old champions, I mean, that's pretty insane.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, he just talked about it being a lack of motivation for this fight against O'Malley, fighting the same guy again. There's a couple things, but before we're about to get to our picks. Get ready, guys. We're about to do sharp picks right after this, but you saw Merab's toe, right?
Yeah.
You saw Merab. You saw his toe. Broken toe about 2 weeks before a fight has to play a factor, right?
Yeah, and why is he broadcasting this stuff? I don't understand that. He had the same thing with the gash in his eye before Umar.
Yep.
Why are you giving these guys any of these? I mean, I understand you're a psychopath. I get all that, but keep that shit to yourself, man. Talk about it after, And I mean, you're going to be attacking it. I don't know. You've seen guys cancel entire fights over a broken toe. And I don't know how you even get through. How do you get through the commission with that? You know, there's just
Right.
things that don't make sense. There's guys who come in with all kind of injuries and fractures and stuff, and it's like, what are these commissions doing exactly? Because if they're not catching this stuff, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you allow the fight. I don't want the fight to be canceled, but how do you allow a guy to go in there with broken anything?
Yeah, and it becomes interesting though, because again, right before we get into our picks, I want to hear your thoughts. Like, what does that look like for O'Malley? Right? Can you foot stomp? Do you foot stomp?
Yeah, of
Again,
course.
because at that point, right,
You have
right,
to,
but
unless you're in
it's not
Canada,
dirty, but
but
unless you're Canada, then it is illegal.
right, because that's
But we're not in
treacherous.
Canada.
Yeah.
We're in New Jersey. We're close up there, but it's not there. So you deem it clear, fair play,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's all fair, man. You know, unless we're going to start modifying rules as we go, which doesn't make sense. If it's allowed, you go for it, whether his toe's broken or not. If it wasn't broken, I mean, most times you can break someone's toe like that, you know? So yeah, it'd be something to watch for sure.
Oof, yeah. I mean, the storylines there are relentless, and I'm sure we'll get into more. But it's time for Sharps picks. Let's get them done, Siege. Let's start at the
Let's
beginning.
do it.
And as people have always asked, they want to hear who we have to pick, but they want to hear the why. Why? So again, we're not going to give you guys basic answers. We're going to tell you why we give the nod to certain fighters. But Siege, let's dig into it. Right immediately first at the top of the main card, you have Kevin Holland versus Vicente Luque. How do you see that one going?
I'm going with Kevin Holland on this one. I think I don't buy into all this chatter about just being okay with being the gatekeeper. I don't think he wants to be on the prelims. I think he wants to be talked about. I think he enjoyed the spotlights, however short it was, you know. And I'm going with Kevin on this. And as lame as it is, he's the hometown guy. I got to back him.
Yeah, showing the love to Fort Worth. Siege, I'm going to agree with you, Siege. I'm going to agree with you. Again, we're doing these back again, but we're going to keep score, Siege. We're going to see who can
Okay.
outlast each other. We did it at the end of last year, but it was kind of half a year. But we're going to officially start it back up with this card, and then we're going to go all the way through December, guys. We're going to be bringing it back more active. We're going to do it for every card going forward.
Yes, sir.
And we'll keep score, Siege. We're going to see who wins.
All right.
But unfortunately, we're going to agree on this one.
Okay.
I'm going to go Kevin Holland as well. I think he's just funky. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Vicente Luque is a guy who's been there, done that. But I think Kevin Holland can kind of keep him at bay. He's a really fun striker. Keeps his reach is going to be really good for him. I'm going to give it to Kevin Holland. I think it's going to be a really close bout. I can see it going to decision. I don't think Kevin Holland can necessarily put him away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because of Vicente Luque and who he is, and that dude's a dog, man.
Yeah.
But I give it to him. The groundwork will be really interesting between both those guys, too. Again, you have Holland with his great jiu-jitsu, and then you have, a Brazilian fighter who's naturally just great on the ground as well, Vicente Luque, but a great striker as well. Really well-rounded, Vicente Luque. But we're going Kevin Holland there. We're going to agree on
Yes,
that
sir.
one, Siege. And now we're going to go with the guy with the most fun nicknames, No Love, Patchy, Patrick, Mix, whatever you want to call it,
Yes,
and
sir.
Mario Bautista. Really interesting fight here, Siege. How does this bantamweight bout go?
I'm pulling out for Apache Mix on this via submission. I mean, why else would we say why else would we say otherwise? But I'm going to go with Apache Mix on this. I think a win for him does a lot for the bantamweight division. It keeps the fire under the division. It, wakes a lot of guys up. And, if he comes out and shows out and proves it, he's still got a fair way to go. And there's a lot of fun fights to be made there before he makes it to the top. And then we keep our guy Merab active, right? We keep him excited about something. He sees this happen. There's no way he's not paying attention to this fight, you know? And, win or lose, I mean, this is a big fight for Mario. I don't think there's really anything against him for losing this fight, right? I mean, it was a last minute switch up, and, you could even make the argument that this is a step up in competition. Who knows? Time will tell. He was a champion over there, not over here, but still, he's going from, a contender to, a former champion. So, this is a big step up for Mario. So I don't think there's any love lost there, whether, he loses or not, but I'm pulling for Patchy with a submission in this one.
I love it. Both guys submission artists. Again, you have Patchy Mix, Patrick.
Yeah, you got to pick one, man. It's tough. Yeah. Mr. Mix. Yeah.
He has 13 submissions. Mario has 6 submissions. It's going to be really interesting groundwork. it's gonna be really tough. I'm gonna go Mario Bautista on this one.
Okay.
I hopped on the Mario Bautista train. I've been watching him in his past couple fights. He lost me a little bit with the Jose Aldo fight. He did win in convincing fashion, but it was boring. I don't know if you got to watch that fight or watch that fight live. He just controlled him against the fence. A lot of clinch work. It wasn't against Jose Aldo, so you're doing it against one of the best and the king,
Still
right?
regardless, yeah.
Just the way he did it, it wasn't convincing. It wasn't like, I don't know. I wanted more from him. Again, I was trying to get on the train, but the fight against Ricky Simon was what kind of what did it for me. He got fast, twitchy hands. He moves really well. I don't know. All rounds were close in that Ricky Simon fight. He was the plus 150 in that fight. He's the plus 140 here. So I'm going with the underdog here, but I think it goes either way. I think Patchy was a little flat-footed to me when in his striking. I think Bautista's really quick and good with his hands. I'm going to give Bautista the nod, but I think that's a really close one. And obviously the odds makers have Patchy as the favorite for a reason. So
yeah, we'll see.
So we'll see. So we're a little different on that one. We'll differ in that one. But now we got the two heavy hitters, a fight that I'm super excited for. And again, if you don't know who Joe Pyfer is, and if you somehow don't know who Kevin Gastelum is, these guys are going to go to war. I mean, these guys love to bite down on their mouth guard and go and fight in the middle of the octagon. Siege, how do you see this middleweight fight going?
You know, I don't know if this is surprising or not. I know I was shining up Kelvin's rims there pretty good at the beginning, but I'm going to go for Joe Pyfer on this one, man. I don't know. I think he's on a streak. I think he's got a lot to prove. And I think Kelvin, even though he doesn't come out and say it the way our boy Kevin Holland does, he kind of feels like a gatekeeper right now, unfortunately. You know, he's kind of fell to that. You know, maybe, 6-7 years ago now, you know, he was definitely at the top of the division. But yeah, man, he's fell a long way. And unfortunately, I think Pyfer just has too much steam behind him. And
That's kind of
No, I'm not going to get crazy. I can't say knockout. That's insane because it's still Kevin Gastelum, but I'd give it to a decision.
okay. So we're going to go Pyfer by decision, Siege. That's a little disappointing, Siege, because that's the way you were talking about Gastelum. I was like, oh, he's picking Gastelum. We're going to be different. And then you change it up on me on the picks and you go Pyfer. I'm going Pyfer for sure. I'm a big fan. I love it. And again, we talked about him being the psychopath, the Paul Craig that actually knocks people out. I'm really excited about Pyfer, man. I am. But again, all credit to Gastelum.
Yeah, that's why you can't talk about him and not give him his dues, man. I mean, he's earned it, you know. So I love Gastelum, but you know, if I'm a bet man and I put my money behind it, I'm going to go with Joe Pyfer.
And you alluded to the knockout, which again, Pyfer has 9 of them in just 13 wins.
Right.
But Gastelum's never been knocked out, and we listed the names of guys he's fought.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And, again, it just seems like Gastelum, again, gatekeeper. You covered all my notes. It just because you look at the past couple of losses he's had. He lost to Brady, lost to Cannonier, lost to Whitaker, lost to Hermanson, lost to Till, lost to Izzy. Right? I mean, that's a lot of losses to your name.
Yeah.
So, again,
Big
by
names.
no means are those guys
Right.
names. So, he's fought the best of the best. So, if Pyfer is the real deal and is body bags and his nickname, then he's going to have to go through Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a war because Gastelum hasn't gotten knocked out by any of these guys. I can't see Pyfer's walking in there. It's going to be easy. But Pyfer could get the knockout, man. You look at what he did to Barrio. I mean, he's nasty.
Yeah.
He's nasty.
I just think a part of me doesn't want to see Kelvin go out like that either, man. That's more what it is, because I still got a lot of love for Kelvin. So I'm okay with him losing. I just don't want to see him out cold, you know, on his face or anything like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, again, when you look at the fight against Jack Hermanson with Pyfer, they kind of were both a little gun shy at the beginning. So it's going to be interesting to see how Pyfer goes about it. But against Barrio's got heavy hands himself, but he wasn't gun shy there.
Yeah.
But when he fought Hermanson, who was also a little bit of a psychopath in himself, they're both a little gun shy, and that's why I went to decision. So it's going to be interesting if Pyfer just steps to the octagon and just tried to trade with Gastelum when Gastelum's a nasty southpaw.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but you look at those odds. Joe Bodybags Pyfer is the minus 400 to Kelvin Gastelum's plus 300. So they have Gastelum's the pretty heavy underdog, which I was a little bit surprised in. So again, we're gonna agree there. I thought we're gonna differ there.
Yeah,
but we're not.
yeah.
We're not.
I had to think about it for a little bit.
You faked me out there last
Yeah.
minute. Fair enough. Fair enough. But we'll move into the co-main, and I'm sure some people may be able to guess which direction you're going on this one, Siege. But we have Kayla
Yeah.
Harrison taking on Julianna Pena. How does this fight go?
Gotta think about this one. Oh, man. How bad is she gonna beat her? How bad is Kayla Harrison gonna whoop her ass? Oh my God. No, I'm going with Kayla all day. I'm going with Kayla. I don't know if I want to say how though, because Juliana's a dog. As much as I downplay her, she's a dog, man. I would say decision, but yeah, I'm gonna say decision. I think that's a safe pick. I'm gonna say decision, but I'm going with Kayla, and I want to see Amanda jump back in there. So even more reason.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You have Kayla Harrison as the -700 favorite versus Julianna Pena the +450. I'm gonna go with Kayla Harrison as well. I think I'm gonna say decision just because I love the submissions that Kayla Harrison can throw up there sometimes, but I think Juliana's so good on her back. She's just not
Yeah.
she's not gonna get submitted to me. I think Julianna Pena is so good from her back. But I'm saying this now. Don't be surprised if Pena all of a sudden throws something crazy up and gets a submission on her end as well.
Good.
Again,
Yeah.
she's been the underdog before and she's gotten the win.
We've seen crazier things for
upset
sure.
Nunes. She can do crazy things. So again, you look at that Nunes fight, that fourth round. Go look at it. She threw up a crazy submission, almost got Nunes in an armbar. So I'm just saying.
She's never out. She's never out of there for sure.
Never out of
Yeah.
it. And her guard is so good. It's so, and if Harrison's going to continue to be in that guard, it's going to mention how she plays about it because Julianna Pena's guard is so good.
Yeah.
Kayla Harrison can't just try to go and ground and pound from the top. So it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people. Some people actually have it, but I think I do give the Kayla Harrison the nod. And I think the next bout with Nunes, if Nunes isn't just teasing with it, and she actually goes along with it, I think that's a banger of a fight.
Yeah. And if her cardio holds up too, because I don't really ever see Juliana get all that winded. And she is sucking down quite a bit of weight to get down here, so it's going to be interesting to see if we make it to the championship rounds, right? It's going to see how interesting she holds up.
Man, see, I don't know what's going on, man. I'm almost switching, but I'm not going to. But there's ways I see Pena gain the win. I think she's great. She's really good on her feet. Again, I think even though she did knock down Nunes, I think Nunes was just overextending herself.
Yeah.
But I think she does have the favorite on the feet. But I think on the ground, I could see her. I don't think that Kayla's going to be able to throw her easily. But I'm going to stick with Kayla Harrison. But, man, I think that fight could be really interesting, especially when Harrison's got on top and Pena's working from her back. Man, that's going to be really interesting, actually. And
there's some things that bode well for her, too. She's a natural bantamweight. She's always competed at this weight, and she's been in these long, drawn-out fights before. So, yeah, I'm don't get me wrong. I'm not completely counting her out. I don't like her, but I'm not dumb either. I know what she brings to the table. I got Kayla in this one, but yeah, it's going to be a good fight. I'm expecting a good fight.
There's something to it. She's fought Nunes twice. Again, we're giving Nunes all the flowers and how great she is. And I have her beating Harrison. Not that it ever works like that.
Right.
But with Pena, been in the octagon with her for now 10 rounds. Or not. It wasn't tight turn. It got stopped early. But, 2 bouts with Nunes. You fought the best of the best. That could translate with the power, at least, and the grappling and the force from Kayla Harrison to Nunes. It could. Oh, man, dude. I'm not switching. I'm not
You're thinking about it.
But before this video ends, I may switch over. Let's go to the main event. Let's go to the main event before I make the switch, man. I don't know what's going on in my head, but I'm not a Pena person. I don't like Pena, but man, there's something weird happening in my head right now.
Yep, there's
that I
a
don't
lot
really like.
of points to consider in that one.
Man, and a lot of points in this one with everything that we talked about. This main event, Suga Sean O'Malley being the heavy underdog, plus 325 underdog. And you have the champ, Merab Dvalishvili. See, this main event, you kind of like hinted at it earlier. How does this main event come across?
It's got to be Merab, and I think it's got to be by decision. And I was thinking about something earlier too, and I don't know why. Certain guys, we give them a hard time when they're just decision kings, right? That's all they do is decision after decision. I don't know why it doesn't bother me as much with Merab, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if I'm just biased. But the dude, that's all he gets are decisions, with the exception of Marlon Moraes. that he knocked out, which was almost kind of a fluke, right? But it's like, they're exciting fights, regardless. He's fighting these big names, and maybe that's why I don't give a shit, because he is beating big names along the way, even if it is by decision. But man, a submission here or there wouldn't kill you, dude. I don't expect you just going out here knocking people out. Cardio is his game, right? So that's how he's really beating guys. He's just burning them up. Like they can't keep up with it. So yeah, whatever. I mean, I still love Merab, but yeah, decisions. It's got to be by decision. I don't see any other way.
Man, see, that was going to be my first point going into there. I love that you touched on that. See, he has 19 wins, 3 knockouts, 1 submission.
Yeah,
And a guy who's kind of a ground and pound guy, kind of wears on you, 1 submission.
yeah,
He's 1-1 when it comes to submission. He's been submitted and he's gotten 1 submission.
yeah.
I mean, again, there's so many guys that UFC fans love to harp on, like, oh, you're just a decisions guy. Oh, here we go, another decisions guy. But Merab, the way he does it, it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's constant pressure. He's always trying to move up in position where it's ground and pound or he's wearing on you. He's doing something
He's
goofy like talking.
relentless.
It is. He's not just controlling and neutralizing somebody. He's always doing something. He's an exciting fighter. It's just what he is. But again, he's a little bit of a decisions merchant. Again, you look at all of his fights. He's the big guys, but it's all unanimous decision. It's dominant victories. Right. It's unanimous decision against Nurmagomedov, O'Malley, Cejudo, Yan, Aldo. Unanimous decision. But again, they're decisions. Yeah. How are you going to the ground that much and you're not throwing up submission?
Yeah, and so it's really how you do it, right? That's really what matters most, right? So it's one thing to be winning by decision and you're just laying on the guy, pressing him up against the fence. I mean, technically you're still imposing your will, but there's nothing exciting about that, right? But when he's winning these decisions, he's doing it, in dominant fashion, right? He's going out there, he's staying active, he's beating you up, whether he's throwing a handful of knees or, rabid punches or whatever's happening. He's making it exciting to watch, There's a little showmanship involved as well. And he's never just resting on his laurels. He's never just, just waiting for that buzzard at the end. He's still active the entire time. So it's a little easier to make an argument for a guy like that as opposed to somebody else,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way he gets it done. So, Siege, I'm right there with you, Siege. I'm going to have to agree with you on this main event. I'm going Merab as well. I think I think it's his spot and it's his. I have to go with him until he shows me otherwise. Again, I had my doubts, not my doubts, but I had my concerns with him against Umar, and for him to thrive, be as comfortable as he was, be as dominant, again, he was in tough situations, and for him, he's just smiling away, looking. Umar has his back. He's just smiling, looking against the cage. Like he loves being there. He's never seemed to be in a worry, like I mentioned earlier. But and again, we've talked about this off camera, but he's kissing people's backs. He's kissing shoulders. He kissed O'Malley and Cejudo. I mean, the dude's kind of odd, man. But that just speaks to how comfortable that guy is. So I have to go with Merab as well. But it's his spot until it isn't. But see, another thing that I want to talk about is who would you bring in? Who can you bring in to help you prepare for a guy like Merab? It's Demetrius Johnson. It's Mighty Mouse. And I don't know if you got to see the video of O'Malley bringing in DJ into his camp and getting to train with him. And I know you speak very highly of Mighty Mouse. So how much of a factor, if any, does that play?
It's fun to watch, and you're always going to see interesting characters like this pop up, in these kind of training camps. I just think it's more for the fanfare than anything else. I feel like it's too little, too late. Bringing in a guy like DJ at any point is going to be fun and exciting. I just don't know if it's going to make that much of a difference in the grand scheme of things. A few weeks out from it, this is something you've been drilling for months on end, maybe. But when it's all said and done, I think we're still going to see the same old Sean O'Malley. Not that that's not a dangerous guy, a very sharp and dangerous guy, but it's going to be that same O'Malley against that same Merab. Merab's not going to do anything any differently, and I don't think he has to, So we'll see if I end up eating those words, but I really don't know how much of a difference it's going to make outside of just it's fun to see. Anytime you see DJ show up in a camp, or any of these legends show up in somebody else's camp, I mean, it's must-see TV, right? And has there really been that much footage? I think I've just seen a few stills. I don't know if I've seen a whole lot of footage about how that actually went and, what the results of that actually turned out to be.
Right, and which actually, that being said, for some reason, I'm usually really good about watching the countdown and the embedded series. I haven't watched any of that this week, which is unbelievable, and it's kind of sickening to even think about. So definitely have to watch that, and so maybe there is more training going on. But kind of to your point, CJ, it's how much of a difference can it make? Again, Merab's doing this his entire life, and now you're kind of scrambling, doing some things. But, I mean, again, you put Demetrius Johnson in a room with me for a little bit, and I'm going to learn a lot. He's teaching him a lot. There's going to be a lot of different tricks, and Mighty Mouse, with how smart as he is, he's going to try to attack O'Malley like Merab will, so he can learn a few things. But as far as the grand scheme of things, like you said, this is a thing where, I mean, Merab's trained his whole life for this. There's only so much Mighty Mouse can do in a short period of time.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's definitely useful for game planning. But again, is there anything that we're not looking for that he should already be game planning for? He's gonna go for that takedown. He's coming for your legs, one way or another. So, is there anything Mighty Mouse could really say that's more insightful than that? I'm sure. The other thing that I did hear that I thought was pretty interesting, which is kind of indicative of how serious Sean is taking this, even though he's, putting these little goofy videos together trying to downplay Merab's skill set, is that he said he stopped smoking weed for this camp. And I think that's very interesting and very telling, because that's a part of Sean's whole thing. He's loose and he's fluid and he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. So for him to give up something like that, I think that's very telling, that I don't want to say necessarily worried, but he might be. But I do think it's something that, he's trying to look under any uncovered stone that he can, and if he's like, that's one more thing that's going to help with cardio, and then again, how long ago did he stop? Has he stopped, since the beginning of the year? Did he only stop a few weeks ago?
True.
Is it something that happened a long time ago, but we're just now finding out about it, But I do think that's some pretty interesting information that came out as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And so that brings up another quick class comment is, what happens to O'Malley if he comes short in the way he did last time, where he kind of gets beat pretty handedly? Because now you don't necessarily want to see him fight Umar. You don't want to see that happen. And then Aljo, again, if Aljo gets his hands on him, well, not Aljo, I think is a step below both of them. But if he gets manhandled again, what's next for O'Malley? Because especially, I think it's Merab and Umar at the top. What happens? Because again, he's a really fun guy. He can outstrike all the strikers, outstrike all the grapplers, but now he's going to show a big hole in his game. So what do you kind of do with a guy like O'Malley if he goes out there and the same thing happens, like you mentioned, in fight 1, happens in fight 2?
I don't know. I think if he does, if he goes out there and we have more or less the same result, you can always take a page out of Max Holloway's book, right? Max lost back to back, and Max got to the point where he's like, you know what? Volkanovski is just that guy. He has my number every time. So I'm just going to go out here and have some fun, exciting fights and just keep this train going, to the point where the champions come calling and begging for him. When he's like, I don't really care about the belt anymore. Even though I know that goes against what I was saying earlier, which is acting like you don't care. I don't feel like Max ever came out and said, I don't want to be a champion. He just said, look, Volk has my number. There's nothing I can do about that, even to the point where he got a third rematch, which he, fairly really didn't deserve, even ended up getting a Topuria fight, which didn't go his way either. But I think if you could create enough buzz, guys like Max have shown that they'll come knocking either way. The fans are going to ask for it. And really, when it's all said and done, that's what matters most. We kind of dictate these fights. The more we're asking for them and getting on there on social media and, pounding away, we're going to get it. And so he could always go that route, and, for some reason titles exchange hands and Merab's not that guy a year from now or 2 years from now, maybe they'll come begging for Sean, just because he has the hype behind him. So that's not a bad way to go either. He already has the fanfare.
Which, again, I mean, now you keep bringing up points. So I'll bring up one more point. I know we've been getting extensive, but it brings up a point. How many exciting fights are there if he decides to move up to 145? I mean, you got Yair Rodriguez. You have Holloway if he goes back down. You have Volkanovski. You have Ortega. You have even Josh Emmett. You have a lot of fun strikers and a lot of fun matchups. If he decides, I'm done cutting away. I'm going to 145.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like he has the frame for it.
Yeah.
You
He's
know, I
tall.
mean, it's easy to look at him now and say, okay, he's only a 135 pounder, but he's got the frame. He's really, really skinny. And, guys, as they get older, they always talk about how hard it is to cut that weight. So
Right.
why not, listen to his body a little bit and move up if, if this doesn't go his way, because yeah, I
Right.
don't see why else hang out at 135.
Right. Yeah. So just another hypothetical situation.
Yeah.
Him and Calvin Cater would be a great fight too.
Yeah.
That would be fun. But again, all hypotheticals. All right, Siege. Thank you for your time. That was awesome. Again, another great breakdown. I'm really excited for the next pay-per-view. You have Taporia. Oh my gosh,
Yes,
Taporia and
sir.
Charles Eubanks Oliveira. That
Oh
that
yeah.
that breakdown might be 2 hours long, Siege. I don't know if I'll be able to stop talking about that one. That one might be
It's going to be a
hard
good one.
hard in itself. Siege. Before we go, Siege, do you have any last words? Any last statements or anything that you haven't got to be able to get in?
Uh, no, more of the same. Just Juliana's going down, mark my words, and, we'll see how that plays out.
I love it. I love it. Hanging to it. I'm not making that switch, Siege. Again, I was almost there, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying keep an eye out for it. I'm not making it the same. I'm just saying keep an eye out for it. But
We'll see. We'll see.
CJ, thank you so much for your time again. I hope you guys enjoyed that breakdown. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys have any different picks than we did? Any different reasoning than we did? Again, drop a comment down below. It's been CJ Sharp, Nico Sharp for another episode of Sharp Segments. Breaking down some UFC. Let us know what you guys think down below. Be sure to subscribe. Do not miss a single episode. And we'll see you guys for UFC 317.